Hello friends, I'm Colonel Failure, and this is Transport Fever, with a slight spin on the usual format in that, well, you can see me. That's different. Anyway, this is the answers to the questions that were posed as part of the woohoo, I have passed 20,000 subscribers milestone video. I'm going to chop and change them around a little bit and try and group them together. But if you had a relatively sensible question, then you'll find them answered here. Probably. Anyway, what you're seeing in the background, as mentioned in the last episode, is I'm playing through a little on the game in order to earn a little bit of cash back in that way that I do on occasion. So you may see the delights of various transportation facilities happening in the background. That's if you ever get bored of looking at myself being all expressive and what have you. Anyway, on to the questions. Chibi01 asks, I have always loved your sense of humour and easily one of the best entertainers on YouTube so far. Not really a question, that. Thank you. If you could record a multiplayer session with 3 famous comedians alive or dead, who would they be? Tricky. I thought about this one, actually, when I saw it come up. Well, when these questions came up initially, I thought, maybe you should have put a cap on this, which is why it's taken me a little while to get to recording this particular answer session. That, and I was waiting for a suitable Transport Fever pause section where I needed to make some cash to have something in the back. Should I just answer the question? Hey, there's the thing. Number 1, I'm going to go with Tommy Cooper. Look him up on YouTube. He's basically, his whole shtick is getting things wrong deliberately. I would do a Tommy Cooper impression, but I'd like to rehearse it first. There are some Cooperisms in a lot of how I conduct myself generally, but he gets things wrong deliberately. In the same vein, but not another one of my selections, Les Dawson. I'll have him on the piano at the same time, and I'd probably have Eric Morecambe. He's either in there as another of the 3, or he's not. Now, these guys, they're all of the same era of entertainer in the UK. These were end of the pier entertainers. They were music hall kind of guys. The classic kind of British humour, classic kind of, the British idiot, the performer, but incredibly skilled in the way that they did it. So, yeah, mix and match between those 3. Who else would I have in there? Jack D, again, British. All of these guys, you'll find their material somewhere on YouTube if you're from off these shores. The reason for Jack D is his deadpan disapproval and general cynicism, sarcasm is just a joy to behold. Not so much these days. He's more of a host these days than he is a comedian, but it amounts to the same thing. Who else? Who are some of the people? American-wise, you have to go Bill Hicks. You have to go Dennis Leary in his stand-up days. I think George Carlin, probably one of the funniest men. Or the most astute, funny men to have ever lived. John Belushi, so the same reason, but John Belushi wouldn't suit being in a multiplayer because he's all physical humour. I don't know. There's a list of comedians that I like. Eddie Izzard. There's a lot of Eddie Izzard in the stuff that I do. Some of his early stand-up gigs that you can get recordings of. You'll spot the occasional Izzardism in what I do. And the reason for that is that, growing up in the 80s, I was an avid video watcher, an avid, comedian watcher, and I'd be able to parrot off bits of their sets without any issue whatsoever. And it all just kind of sunk in there and blended together, and as a result, I can, it just comes out. It's just part of my lingo now. There we go, a non-answer. Right. EC Gadget, another Transport Fever YouTubeist. Check out his channel. I recommend him. Asks, was the $100 million bridge south of Harebear, was it worth it in the end? Yes, it's always worth it. And here's the thing, is that I don't play to be purely profitable. You've noticed this, I'm sure. A lot of what I do is all about can I keep myself amused while playing, to the extent that I've got easy stuff that I can comment on. If I wanted to play just to make as much money as possible, I would do a heck of a lot better than I do in the recorded series. Because I've got to keep it interesting. I bounce up and down, and I've got to be, into it and having fun and making a mess and flying by the seat of my pants. If you think that, I make it look easy, I really don't. There's a lot of mental juggling going on in trying to keep my mouth running while at the same time keep building stuff in a coherent fashion. And for those of you who think that I'm just a wrecking ball, that's why. I'm not as bad as it sometimes appears. I'm not great, but I'm not as bad as it sometimes appears. So was the $100 million bridge worth it? Yeah, for entertainment value alone. Did it pay for itself? Almost certainly not. I almost guaranteed not. Isaac Hemming asks, did you used to be in the army, or why did you have a channel called Colonel Failure? Tenses aside there, no, I didn't used to be in the army. Why is my channel called Colonel Failure? Have I ever done any kind of military service whatsoever? No, I haven't. Why is the channel called Colonel Failure? Okay, right, here we go. So, when I first started playing games on the internet in about 1996, 1997, you came up with a nickname, right? And I was playing a collectible card game called Netrunner, not the one you can get now, the original one. And one of the best cards in that game was a piece of. It's a game about hacking, right? It's a card game about hacking, and one of the best cards, one of the best defensive cards in there was called Colonel Failure, which is a play on words. If your kernel fails within your computer, the whole thing melts down, but it's spelled Kernal. So it's a pun, it's a witticism. Anyway, I started playing online using the moniker Colonel Failure, named after this card. Turns out that I had a flair for being bad at things in a likable fashion, and the name just kind of stuck. I thought, yeah, I'm going to be the most badass thing out there. Turns out I sucked, and rather than get upset about that, I kind of steered into the skid and just kind of went with it. Just kind of go, well, so be it. As long as I'm having fun, I'm playing it right. I don't care what anybody else says. On to one of the more smart questions here. Dan B asks, how many of my questions are you going to answer? 1. Actually, that would have been a really nice smackdown for Dan, but he actually had a couple of decent questions in there as well. So, what's my opinion on people who say first in comments? And he's asking for a friend, allegedly. I'm happy with them. It goes back to early internet stuff, is where you were posting on game developer forums. When the developer posted a piece of news, there would be a small amount of prestige in saying first. Anyway, it stuck around, and you know what? I'm happy with it. And anybody who gets the first on a video will always get a response from me. I can't 100% guarantee that, because sometimes there'll be reasons why I don't get around to it. But if you care enough to try and claim first, I care enough to actually give you credit for that. There you go. Danby again, who's your favourite YouTuber and who's my favourite viewer? Well, as far as viewers are concerned, herself is my favourite viewer. When she watches stuff, that's good. She doesn't tend to go with too much of the train stuff, obviously, but she's my favourite viewer. Ha! Any of you who thought otherwise, no, I've gone with the sensible self-preservation answer on that one. Who's my favourite YouTuber? Well, that varies. Had you asked me 3 months ago, I would go for Stone Mountain 6-4, who's a chap who does heavily subtitled nonsense first-person shooter things, and it's because it's very clever, it's very funny. Is that he basically inhabits he takes on the character of kind of a drill sergeant, a squad leader, who speaks all the lingo. Is overly enthusiastic. It's absolutely brilliant. For similar reasons, Air Force Proud 6-5, it's 6 something. He does a similar kind of thing in FSX, the flight simulator, where he will be air traffic control in a multiplayer environment where they hadn't expected him turning up. and it's just very funny, just the chaos that goes on in there. He's got a very good tone of voice, and it just works for me. There are others, but I wouldn't go so far as to say there is a YouTuber out there who I hang on their every moment, on their every video. I don't kind of go, oh, he's got a new one. No, that's not me. But I watch a lot of stuff. The majority of my subscriptions are towards people who do good tutorials. Whether those are graphic based or anything really. I keep an eye out for that stuff. As far as entertainment goes, not really. No. Once in a while, maybe. I mean, I like to find people who are capable, who are quite good, and see if I can get an understanding of, okay, so what is it about them that really resonates with me, and then maybe I can figure out a way that I evolve my own stuff into be, different for other people. I don't know. There you go. That's the best I've got for you on that one. Grise Pillion, Grease Pillion, maybe, asks, what do I do for a living? Okay, well, I work in the games industry. Yeah, some of you knew that already, but most of you probably didn't. I've worked in the games industry for the best part of 20 years, and I build communities. I've done this on an awful lot of very large games that you have most definitely heard of and almost certainly played. I've done a bit of marketing. I've done, looking after customer service. I've done product development. I've worked making games. I've done a lot of stuff in the games industry. Volcanus Magnus says, congrats that I've passed 20k subs. I was wondering, when did I learn German and why? And to be honest, my German is way better than I think. My German pronunciation's all right. When I put the effort in, when I'm doing it on video, I can't help but kind of over-egg the accent a little bit. Apologies for that. It just happens. I learned German in school. I learned French at the same time. I can remember way more of my German than I can the French. Why did I learn it? You had to pick subjects to do, and I seem to be relatively good at picking up languages. So I went with German, and I enjoy it. I like German as a language because it's very logical. It's very easy to change tenses and so forth. But as with anything else that you learn linguistically, if you don't use it, you lose it. So yeah, pronunciation is all good fun. But these days the amount of German I speak is ein bisschen, not very much at all. There you go. John Smith, which usually I'd say was a pseudonym, but this time I'm pretty certain it's his real name. How or why did I gain 6,000 subscribers in 1 month? So this was at the tail end of 2016, I'm going to say. Maybe, no, it couldn't be 2015. No, it's 2016. Yeah, I gained 6,000 subscribers around this time in 2016. And the reason for that is this game that you're watching in the background, Transport Fever. Basically, I'd been playing a lot of Train Fever, and not many people were still covering it on YouTube. There were maybe like 4 or 5 channels in total, maybe 3 that were English language. And I was the largest of the 3 English language, only by a kind of like that much. Was the biggest of those 3. So the development team gave me and a whole bunch of other people early access to the game, which allowed us to learn it before it came out. The second the game came out, I released video and streamed immediately, and right. I put together a load of stuff. Lots of people were interested in the game when it finally released, and I was in the right place at the right time. I had a couple of tutorials that I made. Which I'm sure more than one of you found me originally through the tutorial stuff that I'd done. Tutorials really aren't my speciality, but they work like billio in helping people find you. People don't tend to want to watch Let's Plays. They tend to drift into watching them. You're more likely to go, show me someone who has built something amazing, or I can't for the life of me figure out signals, show me how it's done. Or, I want to make a custom map, give me a pointer on how we get that done, please. And those tutorials are where you really pick up subscribers. So right place, right time, a little bit of early access, already built up a reasonable following for Train Fever. So when Transport Fever came along, just went whoosh. Yeah, absolutely. Picked up like a rocket. If I could do that every month, it would be smashing, but I'd have to find the games in order to do that. And that's why I sometimes kind of zigzag through different games. Philip Bossy asks possibly the most important question we're going to get. Let's not beat about the bush, go straight for the most critical piece of information. Controversy be damned. What do I prefer, steam, diesel, or electric? Okay, right. Well, it's not electric. Okay, electrics. They're I think, stylistically, as much as some of them can look quite futuristic and glorious. Most of you already probably got a good idea on the answer to this anyway. But diesels, but particularly, weirdly enough, American kind of freight diesels. Because they're different. I like them. They're nothing but, just we're going to all out power. It's probably why, my chosen kind of favourite car type is like, late 60s, early 70s American muscle cars. It's virtually treasonous to say so, but there it is. Do I like steam trains? Yeah, of course I do. Steam trains are amazing to look at and magical feats of engineering. But in terms of what do I like in a game, I like, mass-produced, heavy-hauling diesels. There we are. Okay, we're now into the why don't you play this game anymore section of this particular video. So first off, GP40-2 is asking, will I play City Skylines again? Yes, most definitely. Bad news is going to be a Patreon exclusive series. Paper Cat, very straightforward question, asks, what's 3 times 23? The answer is 69, dude. Colton Barber, first off, congrats on the 20k mark. My question is, what kind of computer mic editing software do you use for making videos? Keep up the great work. Okay, so if you go to the About page for this channel, there's a link to what is called my kit, where it provides Amazon links so you can buy it, but it does cover everything that I'm using in the setup here. Top level, I use an i7 4990K processor, 16 gig of RAM, and that's relatively quick RAM. I've got a GeForce 970, GTX 970, and the mic is a Shure SM58. Swedish TV, are you going to play Airport CEO? I don't need to answer that question, I've already played it. In the time that you asked the question and the time I answered the question, I started playing it. Ta-da! Red Forest, what job do you have and how did it lead to YouTube? Well, actually that's a good question. So I got started in the games industry because I made fan sites, so websites for fans of a game. You have to explain it these days, it's not that they don't really exist anymore. But I made fan sites, programmed and did the graphics and did all the writing and all that kind of stuff. And one of the games I was playing was called Ultima Online, which is still going, the best massively multiplayer game in existence ever. And the role came up for the European webmaster for Ultima Online, and I joined EA to go and be their webmaster because at the time I ran 17 different fan sites for it. I was very well qualified. And I was building them just because I liked them, right? I did just because I enjoyed making websites and I enjoyed playing the game, and so smashing the two together was a no-brainer. Now, what that allowed me to do was completely understand what people who made fan sites and made fan projects for a game, what did they like? What did they want from us, a games company? Now, as I matured through the industry in the last few years, so like for the last 5, 6, 7 years, increasingly video has become important. And I went, well, the relationship there is similar to that with people who've made fan sites. It's that, understanding what they want to get out of things is pretty critical. But I've never done it for myself. Now, while I was working for highfalutin, big name publishers, I was, contractually not allowed to start my own channel or that kind of stuff. But when I stopped doing that in the year that I started doing it, it's 3 years ago, 2014, I thought, right, I'm going to start my own channel. And I'm not going to, leverage anything I know about the games industry or anything like that. I'm just going to do it as though, middle-aged bloke starts YouTube channel, and I'll see how hard it is, and I'll so that I can understand what people who've made their own channels have had to go through in order to get there, so that in my professional work I can develop better relationships with them, and because I've got a full understanding of what it is they've been through, what they go through on a regular basis, and most importantly, what do they want? How can a game developer most help someone out? So that's why I started doing it. The way I sold it to herself was, look, I'm going to teach myself what it is to be a YouTuber. And if I happen to become a YouTube millionaire in the process, well, so be it. I've now learned as much as I realistically need to. And in fact, that was true a year ago. But I'm still doing it because I really enjoy it. And because it's talking to you chaps, right? It's the two-way engagement. It's the fact that you're as involved in the making of these things as I am. Whether you're complaining about me doing it wrong or going, that was very funny, or whatever. It's the fact that it's not just me, it's me and you that are kind of putting this stuff together. Gurav Wagmer. Gurav Wagmer. That's how I'm pronouncing it. Will you ever do Transport Fever with Stegs in a silly way? I can't rule it out. But secondly, are you suggesting that I'm doing it in a sensible way at the moment? Because it's only somewhat sensible. It's quite haphazard in nature. There will be more Colonel and Stegs ridiculous activities happening on this channel because the two of us just bounce commentary like you wouldn't believe. BioEnigma asks, what's your opinion about a 2+ player co-op mode for Transport Fever? Greetings from Switzerland, and your pronouncing is ... Okay, right, well, the Swiss have previously marked their disapproval at some of my pronunciation. So be it. What do I think about co-op Transport Fever? Yes, give it to me now. Right now, I'll take it. Far more so even than competitive. I don't want to play competitive necessarily. It's a fun option to have, but collaborative, definitely. I'd love to have some people taking care of, bits of the map, and we're all linking into each other, and you go check out what they've done. That sounds like great fun. Sign me up. I'll take it now. Thank you. IDK asks, will 7 Days to Die ever be back? Yes, it will. I've got an itch. I need to scratch it. I've got an idea for a thing that I want to build along the dockside. My problem is that I really enjoy survival games. I really, really enjoy survival games. Minecraft, in my opinion, is the greatest game ever made. It's not my favourite game, necessarily, but it is the most important game ever made. And I lost hours and days and weeks to Minecraft, just building stuff. And that's what I would very much like to do. 7 Days to Die is building stuff plus zombies. It's Minecraft for grown-ups. That's all it is. So yeah, will there be more 7 Days to Die? Almost certainly. Grise Pillion, again, I get the idea that your bus and railway lines end up looking more or less the same in each playthrough, very functional. Are you going to do something akin to a sandbox playthrough and the only objective is to make everything look swanky? Yes, that's the next series. I am going to focus in the next series on something that is swankier looking. There will be some use of the no-cost mod. It won't be exclusive. I want everything to be able to pay for itself. Maybe I'll change that rule. But yeah, swanky next time round, definitely. Hawk5602, in a bid to stir up controversy, which unit of speed in relation to time do I prefer, kilometers per hour or miles per hour? I prefer kilometers per hour because it is scientifically based. It is the future. We are a base 10 civilization. You know why we're a base 10 civilization? Because we've got 10 of these. Yes, fingers, 10 of them. That's why we work in base 10. If we had 8, only 8, we'd be in base 8. Trust me, this is the way things are. Obviously, I grew up with miles per hour. All the signposts here are still in miles per hour for those of you outside the UK. Car speedometers are all miles per hour, although they've got kilometres on there as well. But kilometres is it just makes more sense. So my sat-nav, for example, I've got that in kilometres rather than miles because I'm trying to teach myself to think metrically. Popcorn Generator asks, what's the secret of my incredibly stylish hair, or am I just naturally gifted? The secret to my incredibly stylish hair, such as it is, firstly, the Go Faster kind of silvery, no, you see, look, you're reflected in the camera and it's throwing you off. Yeah, look, hold that hand there, turn your head. See, the speed stripes, as I was attempting to say here, the speed stripes of the silver variety there, those come with time. If you manage to hang on to your hair, you'll develop some of those for yourself, unless you're remarkably lucky. The verticality, I have been sporting that particular verticality for 25 years. I was doing it before it was cool. I will continue doing it after it is cool. And the secret to getting it to do just that is one part, do it for 25 years and your hair starts to do it by itself. And the other part is really obnoxiously aggressive hair gel. Serial Lads asks, could I make a separate line for my legacy train? Yes, it's coming. It'll happen. Don't worry. Ben Dries. Could be Dries, I suppose, but it looks like Dries. What are my favourite movies? Oh, goodness me. You'd never ask someone who grew up in the 80s what their favourite movies are, because they'll have hundreds. Because, it came to either going out and drinking underage or going to a video shop. This is before Blockbuster as well. Going to a video shop and renting a video. So I'm going to list off a few. Greatest movie ever made this year, at the moment, this week. The greatest movie ever made is The Thing. Just timeless. And you wouldn't believe that it was made in the mid-80s. Other all-star, kick-ass, good movies. Let's go with the usual suspects. Let's go for LA Confidential. Let's have Fight Club. I'm very obvious. What else? Field of Dreams. Let's chuck a couple more in out there as well. Seven. Any science fiction you care to name. I absolutely love disaster movies. 2012 was fantastically good fun. I don't care if they're stupid. That's the other thing. I don't give a monkeys if the movie's stupid. As long as it entertains me. And disaster movies are endlessly entertaining. Love sci-fi, horror, it's okay. Fantasy movies, comedy, drama, all of that. I'll watch just about anything. You chuck a romantic comedy at me starring Sandra Bullock, fine, I'll watch it. It's absolutely down. Gravity was great fun. Saw that in the pictures, and the sense of impending crap when the broken stuff comes and smashes into where she's trying to, all of that business. Brilliant. So favourite movies, those will do for the moment. Others come, they go, they flux in and out. Aliens has flirted there in the past. I got a bit older and I went, Aliens is still an amazing movie, but I'm now filing that with Terminator 2, in that it's utterly indispensable, but it doesn't rise to the top of the tree in that way that metaphors often mix. Fur Fox, obviously, with a deeply important question. He loves the vids. Humour. Ronnie Barker. Ronnie Barker's not a bad shout. Obviously, I grew up with Ronnie Barker as well, so that could well be part of the lexicon. Do I manscape? Well, look, I got this facial fuzz, right? And I don't let that grow out of control. I'm not going for the lumberjack look, largely because, I look ridiculous when it gets any longer than that. So I'll leave you to draw your own conclusions. All right? Craig24, congrats on the 20k subs. You really deserve it. You're one of the best YouTubes, in my opinion. I'm glad to be a highly rated YouTube. My question is, do you like games like Fern Bust or Est 2? Don't know. Never heard of them. Which is weird, because I've heard of just about... I should have vetted this question before I read it. I don't know. I'll go look at them. I'm going to assume that Fern Bus is some kind of bus driving simulator. possibly camouflaged bus. Est2 is going to be European Simulated Transport. Euro Sim Train. I don't know. I'm going to say don't know, because I don't know. And if so, well, I don't, but carry on. Would you do a video or video series on it? Don't know. If it looks like it might be the sort of thing that the regular viewers here might enjoy, then I might. There's a lot of might in here. I'm going to have to go and do some research. Just, fling some links in the discussion, and I'll have a look. That came out of left field. Arthur Marins with a demographic question. How old are you? I've always pictured you as late 40. Well, I'm not late 40, I'm mid 40. 44 at the time of recording. Devin Tichy, in your opinion, should Pluto be a planet? I think it's. I think what with Pluto's orbit, it's certainly doing planet-esque things, but it's tiddly, and therefore it's not. It's a planetoid rather than a planet. Should it be a planet? And that comes down to your planetary classification system. If the classification system says yes, it's the right size to be a planet, then yes, it's a planet. If the classification system says it's not big enough to be a planet, then it's not a planet. Sorry, that's a line in the sand there. Glenn H. Hi, Colonel. Future games. Ancient Cities. Do you know of it, and is it something you might play? I know of it. I backed it on Kickstarter. I'm on the forum. I'm paying attention. I'm waiting to be able to play it. Dante Lagaloga asks, why do I have so limited videos? Now, that either means, I'm guessing, Dante, that English is not necessarily your first language, and if it is, I desperately apologise. Either, why don't I make more videos, or why don't I make more subscribers, or have more subscribers? And I suspect this is because he's put hashtag 100k there, so he's implying that why isn't there more? So I'm going to ask, why don't I make more videos? Time. That's why, in between having a family, having a job, having some commuting to do, I get precious little time to actually record. And I routinely am chastised for recording too much. So there is a fine balancing act to do. Obviously, if I ever go full time, then that's a different question. But right now, just don't have the time. Nasima Teef asks, what happened to the old crone? She's in suspended animation. This is a reference to my series on the Guild 2 Renaissance, of which I recorded 2 episodes and have not been back. I do this regularly. I'm not going to talk about the Guild specifically here. I'm going to talk about channel kind of stuff generally. I will routinely chuck in a random episode or 2 of something else to see if you guys are interested. And if you're not, so and that interest is measured through how many people watched this video. And if you're not interested, I then make a judgment call of, okay, so how big is the potential audience for this game, and do I think I will tap into it if I stick at it? So Battlegrounds is a great example by that. Battlegrounds gets nowhere near as many views as I would usually cut off from doing something, but it's a radically different audience to the normal folk who watch a bit of Transport Fever or some other management game of some kind. And therefore I'm sticking with it because there is a chuffing enormous audience out there for first-person shootery games, and I think that the tone that Stegs and I have developed for that game is completely different, and therefore there may be a modicum of success out there. Does that mean, should I become, should shootery action games become my thing, does that mean that I will switch? No, it won't. I'm going to keep doing exactly the same stuff as I am doing right now. But what it might mean is that I have a blended approach whereby we have actually shooter over here and we have trains and management and transport over there. The two can sit quite happily together. And certainly those of you who have decided to watch that series, the feedback I get on it is that it's very enjoyable to watch. It's very funny. So that's why other stuff turns up occasionally. It's why I start covering other stuff, is because is this of interest to the people I already talk to, the subscribers I already get, the viewers I already get. And if it does generate a good amount of buzz, a good amount of traffic, is it something that I can then convert into a longer term series that will keep people engaged? With the Guild 2, didn't happen. It wasn't there. There was not. I wasn't feeling it from a gameplay perspective. The views that were coming in weren't particularly strong, and so you have to be somewhat harsh and just kind of go, nope, trot on, next thing. Nova Wild, otherwise known as herself. Using whatever relevant scale is suitable, just how awesome are you to your other half? Tread carefully here, man, tread carefully. I'm pretty awesome, but I'm also a big doofus. And that I routinely speak before it is sensible to do so. However, that said, she seems to be largely quite keen on me, and therefore that's a good thing. Van Toos, what's your favourite style of music? All of them. All of it. Absolutely all of it. I study music in university, and therefore I have a very broad, very eclectic set of tastes. I'll listen to almost anything, and see the appeal or lack thereof within. Music gets better as you get older, so the stuff that you thought was rubbish when you were young, suddenly you start feeling a little bit nostalgic about it, or you start thinking like, well, compared to the crud that's been put out these days, my goodness me, it makes 2 Unlimited sound frankly like Mozart. It gets better as you get older. I'd like, okay, where shall I start? Let's go for a few of my favourite bands. Would include the likes of Soulwax, Public Enemy, Talking Heads, the B-52s, Black Rebel Motorcycle Club, Ministry. That's the top of the tree as far as the Pixies. Matey Boy, Uncle, DJ Shadow. That's the kind of popular music end of the scale right there. Then if we shift a little bit, I tend to like 20th century classical music. Jazz, I like standards. I don't like stuff that freeforms too much, but stuff that dances around standards is very good. I like a bit of brass band music. Folk music, not so much, but some folk singers are particularly impressive. What else have we got in there? There's bound to be more, but I will, I'll listen to just about anything. Film scores, I love film scores, especially when they're well written. Some film scores are extraordinarily good. Music taste, loads of it. I'll listen to all kinds of stuff. Matt C asks, there's a good few maps on the workshop that have got beautiful routes that can be built when your cash flow is no issue. Would I consider doing a no-cost series in the future? And that really will tie into the building for glamorous sake that I'm planning for the next series. Sven Reddy asks, are you naturally bad at video games, or do you simply style your channel that way? The way that I don't fake anything, right? So the way that I'm playing on the channel is the way that I would play normally. If you want to see what the difference is for yourself, commentate while you play. And record it as well, right? You don't necessarily... I've got a bit of a knack for just, talking rubbish. And you can develop that over time for yourself. But if you want to see how difficult it is by comparison to just playing, talk while you're recording. Just play the game and then record as you would do while you play. And at the back of your head, keep in mind you're trying to entertain people. It makes it more difficult. Now, it sounds like an excuse. Am I the greatest gaming player in the world ever? Certainly not. I rarely finish games because I get bored with them. My preference for games is ones that don't tell me how to play, that I can choose how to play for myself. And therefore, I just play them the way I want to play them. And as long as I'm having fun, I will continue playing them. So, am I as bad as it looks? No, I'm not. But am I that much better than it looks normally? No, I'm not. I get easily distracted. I'm into the experience that I'm playing at any given time, and I play for fun. I think that people who are out and out to win are missing the point. Games are supposed to be fun. Go and play for, make yourself laugh. Do something completely stupid. That's the point of a game, as far as I'm concerned. If a game's got achievements, I don't care. Action adventure games where you can go and collect 50 of the thing, I don't care. Can you? Grand Theft Auto, one of my favourite games that I'm playing at the moment. Grand Theft Auto Online. You know what I spend most of my time doing? Just driving around, just going places. Oh, I might go and check in on my planes. Yeah, all right. Yeah, I am trying to make some money, but I'm going to check in on my plane. Go drive down to the airport, get distracted, steal something else along the way. Just drive around it. I just have fun. Just mucking about. In fact, if there were a genre of game called mucking about, the genre, that would be my favourite one. Saturn Mist also asked something similar. Have you thought about getting Stegs in to record one of my Transport Fever videos just to see how much hilarity would come out of it? No. Yeah, I've considered it, but I don't think it would work. I don't think it would work. It would feel forced, is what it would feel. And it's one of the things that I try and avoid at all costs. Is anything that where I'm obviously trying to be funny. It's far better when it's just natural, when I just say something that has a good kind of bitey ring to it in terms of a pithy line or a throwaway sentence, or when stuff goes wrong. It's the best thing in the world. But if you force it, it's incredibly obvious. So getting Stegs in to comment on it, I think it would be trying to make it funny for the sake of making it funny. And that's going to be a tough one to do. Toxic Ruby asks, "Hi Colonel, my question is what made you start playing Tycoons sort of games?" Really easy. Is they let me play how I want to play. I make the decisions, I go from there. I've designed games myself in the past, and nothing you've heard. I design games for my own kind of headspace stuff, and real world games as well. I do some stuff with that, but I want to play how I think is right. It's why I can't stand puzzle games. I can't stand them at all. Portal is the closest I've ever come to a puzzle game that I thoroughly enjoyed, because it's why I prefer Portal 1 to Portal 2, even though the writing in Portal 2 is sublime. Is that it gave you figure this out. There are 1,000 different ways you can do this, but go and figure it out. But yeah, if you have to do it the way the designer wanted you to do it, that's wrong for my taste in gaming. I'm not interested in doing that. Having to fight the same boss over and over and over again to finally defeat him, I hate that. Platform games, can't stand platform games. Oh my goodness. No, just not into it. Let me do my own thing. Let me go off and just, monkey around a bit and have a bit of fun. And yeah, I'll get through the story. Don't worry about that. But the ability to do things how you think they should be done, and Tycoon games do that, really quite well. And then you can add further entertainment value for yourself by renaming stuff, just by calling things differently. Here's a secret for those of you who like The Sims, and you'll have done it already, I guarantee it. But make a house full of people you've already heard of. Your friends. Make a house full of your friends. And it will be the most entertaining thing ever. I did this for a little while, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, is I recreated every small team within my EA department as a separate household, and I'd do a little write-up of what they'd all been up to. Every night I'd just leave it playing and do a little write-up. Fascinating, absolutely fascinating, incredibly funny as well. There you go. Fear Holiday, okay, maybe a bit personal of a question, I don't know, a bit random. Have I ever had any kind of serious injury? No, not really. No, the closest I've had is I got peritonitis, which is what happens when your appendix actually bursts. Yeah, well, yeah, I know, try to kill me. It's a flipping thing. After passing out, I went in an ambulance and got it taken out. Yeah, it sounds pretty straightforward, but high drama at the time. But no, that's the closest I've come to a serious injury of any kind. Amul Kumar asks, why do I call the intro music bombastic? Because it is. It's incredibly overblown. Now, the whole joke of the intro is that it sounds like something, amazing is about to happen. Some, big, explosive dun 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 dun. Right? It sounds like, it's an action movie. It's the troops are coming over the hill. There's Black Hawk helicopters coming in, spaceships coming in from the asteroids about to. All of that. No, it's not. It's just some dithering old fool talking about games. And that's why it's bombastic, is it's just overblown, and I think personally that it fits the channel remarkably well. Steve Murray asks, fancy a pint? Me? Regularly. FV623 with a splendid question. A meritorious effort, dear Colonel. Many felicitations. Now for the interrogation, if you permit. What do you think is the age range of your viewers? Well, actually, I've got a pretty good idea of what the age range of my viewers is, because the old YouTube analytics tells me quite a bit. Basically, if it knows how old you are, so do I. Interestingly enough, the majority of you are between 26 and 34. Now, that might sound odd, it might not, but weirdly, that's actually the average age of any YouTube viewer. It's the biggest area. Where I get a little bit different is that the 13 to 18-year-old group, not very many of you chaps, go tell your friends. Go tell a lot of your friends, right? There should be more of you watching this than currently are. Do I need more stuff that blows up? Just let me know. I skew older, so the 34 to 44 and then older still group, but my channel is significantly more appealing in that area than other channels similarly. So yeah, my audience are a little older. I know of several people who use my videos in order to go to sleep at night. Mr. McBaldspot asks, what was the first PC you played? PC game you played, and on what machine? Yeah, see, here's the thing, is that my first PC game that I played would have been Pong on the Atari home console back in the very, very early 80s, or late 70s for that matter. It was one or the other. In terms of on a computer rather than a console type thing, the one that I would have got stuck into more than anything else would have been Elite, the original, on the BBC B. Then moving on to the Amiga, which was my next significant. I went BBC B. I then had an Amstrad CPC. I had the good one, although to be said, the 6128 is the one that I had. But we were umming and ahhing about whether to get one of those or a Commodore 64. Boy, did I take the wrong turn there. And then I got an Amiga. Yeah, all you Atari ST users out there. I had an Amiga. Speedball 2, just the greatest games experiences you've ever had in the time. That with Sensible World of Soccer and just about anything the Bitmap brothers were doing, anything coming out of Team 17, they were just the bee's knees. On that actual PC, I moved to PC quite late, really, because I stuck with the Amiga for so long. I had what did I have? I had a Sega Saturn, another horse, back to the wrong one. Hey, look, Sony are making their first console. Sega have made the Mega Drive previously. They both come out at the same time. Which one do you buy? You buy the one by Sega. Of course you do. No, you bought the wrong one. Should have bought a PlayStation. Anyway, I rectified that with PlayStation 2. But my first PC on which I played games I got in 98. 98? Yeah, 98 sounds about right. And the first game I played on that was probably Battlezone. But that was at the same time that I played GTA 1 and Civ. I'm going to say Civ 2, I think it was. Because I played Civ 1 on the Amiga. Yeah, Civ 2, I think, probably. Gordon861, when someone asks me a question, just one quote springs to mind. A sensible question. A question that will test the limits of your new IQ and stretch the sinews of your knowledge to bursting point. The question is, given that God is infinite and that the universe is also infinite, would you like a toasted tea cake? It's a Red Dwarf quote there. You're not going to get that one past me. Look at me. Obviously, I know what Red Dwarf is, dearie me. Right, William Laver. How did you meet / start doing videos with Stegs? How did I meet Stegs? It worked for me. Yeah, there we go. And he thought he'd turn his hand to doing some YouTubery as well. I said, well, look, this Battlegrounds thing has just come out. Why don't we try doing that together and see how it pans out? And there you go. It panned out really quite nicely. Turns out that his overexcitable tone mixed with my laid-back, overconfident, just the two gel really quite nicely. T Plane Driver asks, what is the Colonel? Is it true that he is in fact Swiss, German or French? Is it a he or a she? Who is the person coughing in the background a while back? Are you a fan of dogs? Tell us the entire background story. Well, you've had quite a bit of background story in this A session so far. What's missing? Who is the person coughing in the background occasionally? That's herself. You're more likely, so I point this way because that's where herself often resides. She's every bit as much a gamer as I am, although, she like flipping RPGs. It's why, and you probably can't make it out, but that's the Witcher cosplay calendar on the wall. I've had to tolerate that all year. Gerald in varying stages of disrobe, knocking around in a bathtub. Yeah, she's flipping heck. Anyway, yes. Am I a she? No. I'm a he. That's fine. That's how I identify. Am I a fan of dogs? Yep. I like dogs. That's fine. What's the entire background story? I think you've probably got it all, actually. What else do you need to know? No, you're going to have to get more specific than that, man. I can't do just random bits of. I'm left-handed. There you go. How's that? Right, which is why the mouse lives over here. There's two reasons for that. Firstly, I'm left-handed. Secondly, you get a right-hander, come sit down and go, I'm just going to use a computer. And it's like they blue screen. They just kind of go, does not compute. The mouse is not there. What? But how the... When? And I can use the mouse in a right hand as well, because you have to. As a left-hander, you have to overcome an awful lot of things. The mouse being used in the wrong hand, just one of them. So, yeah, annoying right-handers is a hobby. Ace from Space 80 asks, where are all the aliens? The answer to this is simply too far away for us to be able to get in touch with them. Bird Dog, is the question actually related to the game? Have you ever thought have you ever given any thoughts to improving the road traffic in some of the cities? They seem to get backed up in a lot of places. Yeah, I have actually. I've considered it, but the traffic is simulated. But I guess it's simulated with purpose. I ought to study it a little bit more. But unlike city skylines where stuff has a very definite path that it's trying to follow, I've never seen that same kind of behaviour in Transport Fever, and it's more just there as a measure of how busy that city is and how well you are removing the transport. Maybe I should study it. Maybe there's something in that. Humbrian Sung, what's all this malarkey about goods being dropped at passenger stations? I often do it depending on city build. I guess I'm missing a joke or something. It's a joke because it's a recurring piece of conversation. And it's that I don't drop stuff. I don't drop goods at passenger stops because it was a bug initially. And the fact that people liked it so they left it in, that's fine. I've got no objection to anybody else doing it, but I like to use truck stops to drop stuff off with trucks. Doesn't matter if it's more realistic or less realistic or what. Doesn't matter. It's just a personal choice. Is that, it's a restriction I impose on myself because I prefer it that way, is that you can only drop goods at a good stop. L asks, how do you determine the topic of the next episode? Well, I usually skim around and have a look at all the things that need doing, and then figure out, okay, well, where's the interesting? Have I got the cash to do that? Is that the biggest drivey forward thing that I could be doing right now? Sometimes I'll go like, right, there is a clear need for an overhaul of a particular area, and I'll focus on that in a couple of episodes' time. I'm going to go, right, I'll make a 2-3-parter out of it. I mean, think about the goods hub that I've been working on recently, right? I've been doing that for, 6, 7, 8 episodes? I don't know how long now. But it's been a big project, and I want to do a good job with it. I want to, we've talked about snazzy-looking stuff. This is one that will be snazzed up somewhat. Elle also asks, when a Transport Fever series is coming to an end, how do you determine where you're going to go with the next series? Well, fundamentally, I want to do something different with each new series. So I don't want to do a repeat of what I've done before. I don't usually put arbitrary limits on the content that I'll use. It's like I won't say, right, for this next series, American trains only. Sorry about that. I did it in Train Fever, but that was because you couldn't cross the streams and have both. So, but, I won't do a limitation like that, but I might do an incredible mountain range, or I might do something where half the map is water, but there's like island hopping or something like this. But it's where I can get a concept going on as to how I might develop this in a way that might be interesting, in a way that, despite using similar methodology, similar trains, all that kind of stuff, that it will have a slightly different feel to the previous series. As much as all series have kind of a similar taste to them, I want to keep it moving forward and get a certain amount of fresh with each new series. M4 asks, have you considered playing any older transport games like Transport Tycoon, Locomotion, or Railroad Tycoon? I've played Railroad Tycoons, all of them, in the day. Industry Giant I played quite a lot of. And this comes back to, I have to focus, because I've got aspirations to grow the channel further, I have to focus on stuff that has the best chance at finding an audience. And as much as there are still people playing, well, there's still a lot of people playing like games like OpenTTD, there just aren't enough for it to warrant my sinking a series into it. Doing it just for fun, absolutely, and it would work absolutely fine. But I'm thinking about, how do I get from this 20k mark where I am now to 100k? How do I get to 250? How do I get to 1 million? Is it even possible? As much as I'm incredibly pleased with where I am now, my sights aim further. So selecting older games is not, in my view, the optimum path to doing that. Keithy1980 asks, before Train Fever, what transport sims did I used to play? Odds and ends, really. I mean, I started out on Factorio on this channel, which it's got a transport leaning to it. Industry Giant 2 was my favourite before then. The Railroad Tycoons were all good. I played all kinds of bits and pieces, but Train Fever got its fingers into my cortex, largely because I was recording it. And once you start a series off that you think, actually, I'm going to pursue this long term, you do overinvest time in it. You do spend more time on it than you might do otherwise. Would I still be playing Transport Fever if I wasn't recording it? Actually, I don't know. But I do know that I've got enough other games that I want to play that I just haven't got the time to do. That, yeah, chances are I would have put it down by now. But I am still thoroughly enjoying it. David White asks, when's the next live stream? Don't know is my answer. My ideal would be to get to the point where I can do a live stream a week or a couple a month or something like that, because I like recording live. And in fact, what you hear on the channel is often me just doing live, but I'm not on the camera. I very, very, very rarely does anything take more than one take. Very, very rarely does it take more than one take. Which is why there's a lot of umming and erring going on, because the gears are spinning as we're trotting on. So when's the next live stream? When I can swing it is the basic answer, because until I move house, which I will be doing again later this year, I don't have space enough to kind of like throw everybody out and just kind of go, nope, streaming, nope, everybody stand clear. Mephistopheles Wins asks, hi, congrats on 20k2 questions. First, did you notice that the reason why your Wits-Now Ingerbol line is so weak is because your Wits-Now Inner City commuter isn't set up since day one? Don't care. No, it's a great question, but, it's set up fine. You know why? Because it's delivering a couple of passengers here and there. Also, Wits-Now Ingerbol is making money. So, This all goes back to, of course you can play the game better than I can. You can dedicate all the time in the world to getting every single line right. I am trying to do stuff on the spur of the moment, get it all moving, move on to the next thing, keep it interesting. If I spent an hour doing just getting Vitznau Ingabal set up properly and then refining it and perfecting it and all of that kind of business and then going, give me 10 minutes. It's not entertaining. So there will always be a compromise made on the entertainment side of things. Anyway, you've got a second question. I might not be quite so dismissive of this one. What's my dream mod for games like Transport Fever or other management games that you would love to see? It's something I haven't considered. That's the answer. Is because if I wanted to go off and make mods, I probably could. I've got, enough experience doing stuff like that I could go and make them. But add more trains, add more ploppable buildings, add more interactivity. Why is the port design so weak in Transport Fever? I don't get it. Why isn't it better? Why aren't ports? Why has nobody built like a super big container port that overhauls the way that shipping works? Shipping is probably the most neglected part of the game. Give us some more shipping stuff. But it's stuff that I haven't considered, is where I tend to get the most joy from things, something I haven't thought of. What's probably the biggest? What would be the biggest one? It was pleasantly surprising when I decided to edit my level crossings the other day to find out that I'd got like 500 to choose from. That was quite nice. The interface is horrible, but, that was quite nice. What else? The air freight, that just works. That's quite good. No, I don't know. It did, but, surprised me. That's the stuff. Some of the things that people are doing in combinational stops right now. Mr. Flying Junctions, that's terrific. But I need to go and sit down for 2 hours and really understand how that works. Otherwise, it's always just going to be an oddity that just kind of sits there. The TM1 channel. Colonel, I have one question. In the long, dark, quiet hours before midnight, when the dawn seems far away, and what Hemingway described as one's hard-boiled exterior has receded into the inky blackness, is there a small part of your mind, a distant speck of consciousness, that feels a modicum of guilt about the thousands of main connections that you've left severed, decapitated, or mutilated over the years? The roads that lead from a steel plant to nowhere, the ones that lay wrecked and shattered across the landscape. Is there perhaps the smallest twinge of concern that eternally glowing icon at the top of the screen will finally rouse itself in rage and spew forth a volcanic outpouring across the landscape, sweeping away your carefully crafted network as an act of vengeance for those fallen main connections? Or do you simply lay awake, perhaps dozing fitfully, until the first tentacles of sunlight reach around the curtains as a reassurance that it was only a dream? Only a dream. Nah, not bothered. I'm not fussed in the slightest. If I could just tell it to clear off, I would do. John Smith asks, is there ever going to be a return to the Train Fever series? No, John, I finished with it. Why would I play Train Fever now I've got Transport Fever? John Smith asks, why do you always build railways so your trains drive on the right? Because that's what it defaults to. You can fight against it, John, but ultimately they're going to rebel against you first chance they get. So I keep them on the right because that's where the game intends them to be. Fungus Films says, did you know that you can write things down so you don't forget to do them? Yes, I do know that. And on occasion I have actually written things down so I don't forget to do them. But I actually find it more entertaining to not write things down and then forget to do them. It keeps me on my toes. Southeastern Hero has gone with Party Rings or Jammy Dodgers. I don't like either particularly. I think the biscuit's rubbish. But Party Rings, that really kind of sharp icing stuff they stick on the top of it. No, the texture's all wrong with that. Dodgers, easy. Dennis Loveland asks, hi Colonel, wondered if you could explain how to put my own logo on trains, buses and so on. Thanks in anticipation. Well, that's quite a lengthy process for this video. If you Google it, you'll find the answer. But it might be a good one for me to actually record a tutorial on because it's a bit fiddly. if you want to prepare for that, firstly, don't know when I'll record it. But secondly, you're going to either need Photoshop or PaintShop Pro or GIMP or any other a graphics program that handles alpha channels and transparency. Ninja Pumpkin EDB asks, how did you gain your knowledge of computers? And, well, let's answer that. How did I gain my knowledge of computers? By just doing it. It was 1980. I had a computer when I was a kid, so you taught yourself to program it. 10, hello world. 20, go to 10. Bosh, programming. By being curious. That's how I gained my knowledge. By being curious and then finding the answer. I build my own computers these days, but you say that as though it's some kind of rocket science, and it really isn't. It's relatively straightforward. That's how I gain my knowledge, is just by having a question and then finding the answer for myself and poking around. I've blown up several computers by wiring them wrongly in my understanding of putting them together. I've got it wrong a fair bit of the time, but no, these days it's all relatively straightforward. And when I have further questions, I will get those answered too. Silver Spirit 45 says, I never got to play with the Nordic DLC for Train Fever that much. So, do you think it will return for Transport Fever? Probably. The conversion is quite straightforward. It's up to the mod makers themselves as to whether they reintroduce it or not. There were some terrific trains in there. Would I do a Nordic-only series again? Probably not, because I've done it before. But that was all good. It was good stuff, and I'd love to see those trains, all of them, being converted up to Transport Fever. Mravak Kid or Mr. Avak Kid. It's one or the other. What other train management games have you played? What are your favourites? Railroad Tycoon, all of that. I've answered this already, but Railroad Tycoon, Railroads I've played, Industry Giant I've played, probably some others as well. What's my favourite? That at the time I was playing them, whichever one I was playing, because time moves forward. I wouldn't now go back and play Railroad Tycoon 1 and enjoy it as much as I did when I was playing it when it first came out on the Amiga, because that was revolutionary. So everything has a place in time, and sometimes you stick with things longer than you should. Sometimes you go back to stuff and it's still every bit as great as it ever was. But by and large, it's the moment at which you're playing it will in part dictate how much you're enjoying it. Aridexa asks, what countries have you visited? Quite a few. I've done the whole of Scandinavia, so I've done Finland, Denmark, Norway, Sweden. There we go. Europe-wise, I've done. I'm trying to think of a map at the same time, you see, because that way I can point to it. I've done Netherlands, Belgium, France. I've done Spain. I've done Italy. I've done Greece. I've done Germany. I've done Austria. I've done Switzerland. I've done. Not been to Poland yet. Well, I'd quite like to go to Poland. As you go further east, I haven't done very much at all. Done Turkey. Anywhere else, kind of Europe-wise. Who have I missed? Have I missed anywhere obvious? I think I've driven through Luxembourg. No, I think that's probably it for. I mentioned France, obviously, didn't I? Yeah, definitely. Been to Ireland. I've done the whole of the United Kingdom and Ireland. I've done a couple of the Scottish Islands, not many. Then, hopping the Atlantic, I have done the United States of America. Only coasts so far. I've not been inland. Would very much like to visit Texas. Because I think there's some cultural interest going on there. Where else have I been? Cuba. I've been to Cuba. I've been to Hong Kong, and I think that's the majority of the list. I think there may be more. I may have missed one or two, but not been to Canada yet. But as far as I understand it, it's just a more extreme United Kingdom as far as weather is concerned. With a splash of USA thrown in there and quite a lot of France. It sounds fantastic. Canada is somewhere that I could see myself living, to be honest, but never been there yet. So that's just a lofty notion. But there you go. Yeah, Canada. Woo! John K asks, "What's my favourite piece of rolling stock in the game?" There's a few of them because they're part of the same series, but it's the early 20th century oil wagons. I didn't even use them because economically they didn't make sense. But the early 20th century oil wagons that have been themed with various petrol companies. I thought that was terrific. I thought that was really, really well done. So yeah, that's really good. And later on, when you start getting trains that bogies that handle shipping containers, those are ace too, because that's the trains that I see. I don't see box cars. I see shipping containers. And I know a thing or two about shipping containers. I worked in shipping for a very short time. Don't get carried away. I did data entry. That'll drive anybody up the wall. But yeah, I worked for a shipping company doing data entry for a bit. So I know shipping containers and that. Therefore, they live on trains. But yeah, no, the themed oil wagons, they're terrific. Alistair Dingley asks, what's your favourite dinosaur, Colonel? Don't know. I'm tempted to say Stegosaurus because I think it's got the most interesting name. As much as, people go, oh, it's because you like stegs. I kind of go, yeah, well, maybe that's why I'm being influenced in that fashion. I'm going to have a Brontosaurus because they're flipping enormous and vegetarian. I find that to be, a smashing dichotomy going on there between those two. Hesh Kadesh asks, what do I think is missing from Transport Fever and what do you wish was improved? Air freight, yes. Improved road layout, yes. Improved shipping, yes. International on-off, yes. They all seem pretty popular and common in discussions. What else is there? A day-night cycle would be nice. Seasons would be good. Random events, I think that there is a market for random events. So the way that I would do it is I would do almost a Skylines approach, where one day-night cycle is 1 month, so that you get to see things in an elongated fashion, and throw in disasters like, there's cows on the track, or there's adverse weather that's slowing things down. It would keep things a little more interesting. I mean, the game is challenging enough already, but once you get to, once you've done 50, 60 hours of play, you should know how to turn a profit. And obviously, if I was paying attention to nothing but the profit graph and making sure that everything in there was green, that would be fine too. The thing that most people miss actually is that all of those stuff that in that profit list that is red at the moment is usually feeding in to another route that is green. And the green routes that are going green often make massive amounts of money, so they carry the routes that aren't making cash. So yeah, I don't know, to be honest. Multiplayer would be fun, but cooperatively so, rather than competitively. I'd like a scoreboard as to who's doing better, but not buy out all their shares and knock them out of the game. Where's the fun in that? I want to play a game. I don't want to be knocked out of a game. I might be the short leg of the stool, but keep me playing it. Diedrich Willems asks, do I reckon one of the trees in Transport Fever is a larch? Almost certainly, although I've yet to see anybody hiding in it, but I would guess that's the point. Skipper Chew's asking what my preferences are as far as alcohol is concerned. I'd like a pint of Guinness, please, and then Scotch. Thank you very much. Hunting Fox asks a more serious question. It's not that serious, though, is it? Will you ever use planes other than the DC-3 in a series? I did in the last series, and in the one before that. I use all kinds of planes in those. This one is the only one that I'm going DC-3 only, because I think it works particularly well in an alpine setting. If there were more modern small jets, then maybe I would use those as well. But flying into and out of the Alps lends itself, as far as I'm concerned, towards propeller planes more than it does, your big 747s and the like. Chris Kemp asks, what made you interested in trains? being British and growing up in the late 70s, early 80s, trains are just a thing. Because of the Industrial Revolution and the fact that we invented them, and that so much of the country is built on them, and you had the Railway Children, which was a good piece of fiction growing up around them, and then there's just a lot of kind of train culture that is ingrained, or train mythos maybe, that is ingrained in British society around that time. And it's died off a bit since then because it was all sold off by the government, right? So they're all privatised now, and that's lost a little bit of the impetus behind it. Now, I've always liked big machines, and it was trains that kind of got me into that. Never did train spotting. I had a model train set as a kid, and that was amazing. My dad built this terrific big board with flipping papier-mâché mountains and all kinds of stuff, and me and my brother would just rip them around and cause crashes and stuff. Nothing much has changed, clearly, but yeah, that's really what got me into it. Connor Johnson asks, have I played any of the Trains with a Z title? If so, do I prefer Trains or Train Simulator? Never played Trains, so I can't compare. Train Simulator I find an oddity rather than anything else. I'm not that bothered about simulated train travel. I don't crave authenticity above everything else. I crave fun above everything else. I like trains, but I want fun. And therefore, if the controls are wrong or if the sounds aren't quite right, I'm not that fussed. It's just not that important to me. Can I have some fun while doing this activity? It's why I don't do more train simulator videos, is because if I do them sparingly, I do get a sense of fun, of challenge out of trying to learn how to drive them. And that's where I get a lot of fun, is like, oh, it's all, no, wait, hold on, forward, why aren't you going forwards? Right? That's the bit that I find fun. Were I to become proficient, I think the fun would actually decrease a little bit. So that's why I do them sparingly, but I'm not a simulator man. No, it's not for me. Doing it properly, not for me. Doing it my way, that's the thing that I like doing. Nana118, I hope I've pronounced your name correctly. Colonel Failure, being an avid Milsim aviation fan, I was wondering what would be your favourite military aircraft, helicopter, airplane, VTOL if it takes your fancy, that is currently in service or has been in service with XYZ, and why, without referring to or speaking of the blasphemous overpriced piece of junk that is the new future fighter with VTOL and stealth. Well, crumbs. Okay, well, let's have a look. What do I like? What do I like the looks of? I think the Eurofighter is a tremendous piece of technology. I saw a documentary on it. That's my justification for that. The fact that it is unstable and that the computer actually allows the pilots to fly it, because they wouldn't be able to fly it without the computer stabilizing it for them. But that instability is what leads to them being able to move at such an incredible, turn speeds and stuff like that. I think they're good. I think you said still in service. Sure. See, because excuse me, I can't even remember what they are. I'm going Hueys, but then I go Cobras, and then it's not a Huey Cobra. It's the Boeing, the Bell, the helicopters that we use in Vietnam. I thought were absolutely terrific. I know what they're called. It's just eluding me for a minute. But as far as having an aesthetic to them, a purpose, a sense of purpose to them, that is incredibly emotive, incredibly kind of, it pulls out a particular mood. I think they're amazing. The jump jet less so. So the Harrier, as an Englishman, I'm supposed to put great stock into the Harrier jump jet. I get it totally, but it never had the same kind of resonance. And I guess it's because I'm a movie nut, right? That's why it was interesting. Chinooks, I think they're terrific. Black Hawks, like them too. I prefer transport helicopters to attack stuff. Or the C-17, big lifty chaps. They're fun. Beyond that, I don't know. I'm possibly the wrong person to be asking the question. Yanisin Kasumi asks, well, as I enjoyed every episode, I look forward to more. Love the humour. Do you record on the fly, or, as I suspect, how much time do you spend preparing for each episode of the Alps map? Minutes at most. Basically, all I need in order to record is an idea of what's coming up next, of what I'm going to be pursuing next. If I've left a gap, so usually I'll record like 2-3 episodes at a time in one sitting, because it's the most efficient way to do it. But if I'm so if I'm coming after a gap of like a week in between recording sessions, I'll watch the last 10 minutes of the previous episode just to kind of jog my memory as to what I was up to. And that's why sometimes things get missed, is because, maybe it happened at the start of the video and I didn't finish it off that time around, and I've refreshed my memory on the last 10 minutes. That's why sometimes things get missed. But how long do I prep? If I'm doing something new, I'll have a look around and kind of go, yeah, maybe do it over there, perhaps, and hook those two together. You can always tell when I haven't got a plan, because the episode will start out in quite a spotty fashion. It won't have a coherent message. I think lately I've got a little bit better at, before your bombastic intro there, that it's gotten awful dark, hasn't it? Before the bombastic intro, that I have... a bit of a recap and a bit of here's what we're about to do, and then we go into the full actual getting on with it. When I don't have an idea, I don't think it's as strong, I don't think it's as good. So I'll spend between 1 and 5 minutes coming up with a concept. If I can't come up with a concept, often I don't record. I'll go, no, I'm not feeling it, I'll come back to it another time, because it's where stuff emerges in real time that keeps it interesting. And if you prep too much, you're going to miss out on a lot of real time stuff. Mr. Bout Sky, in my professional opinion, what's best, a crawler bulldozer or a wheeled bulldozer? There's absolutely no competition. Bulldozers have tracks, they do not have wheels. Diamond Pacific, you've been around for ages. You've been here since about the 350 sub mark. Do you plan on ever making a Train Fever video looking back at all your previous maps? No, I've got no plans with that regard. I've got all the saves still. I suppose I could do. Get to 100,000 subscribers and ask me again. Alright, let's try that. Nico Ferguson asks, did you ever play Sid Meier's Locomotion? No, I didn't. Because it's Chris Sawyer's Locomotion. I didn't play that either. Sid Meier's did Railroads, which I did play, which was very disappointing. It was very pretty to look at, but it was rubbish compared to the old railroad tycoons, with the flipping tracks doing, spirals in and out of each other, and the AI just building like bedlam. It was rubbish. Obviously, I played the hell out of it for a little while, but no, it's just not. It's not a great game. Mr. Biot Sky is back once again. Who's my favourite polka artist? Don't know. No, polka. I'm fine with polka, but I couldn't name one. Sorry. Anthony Nakor, congratulations on 20k, kind of funny. Thank you. Why on earth did you give yourself that rather funky username? I answered that one already. And what made you like transportation management games in the first place? It's all management games, not just transport. I think I've covered this, reasonably already. It's at this point that it suddenly dawns on me that if I were to group these together, it would work quite well. And in fact, that was my original plan. But for some reason, it's turned to night time in the process of recording this video, so I'm just going to do them all in order. There you go. We'll just crack on. So yes, all management games because I can play them how I wish. Captain Jesse asks, how about making a 4-mile long train? How about no? In order to make enough profit from a 4-mile long train, I will need an awful lot of goods to be supplied. It's worth a try, but maybe once I've got 100 million that I just want to throw away on a silly project. Paul Richards asks, why do I spend so much money building and rebuilding? Because I do it on the spur of the moment. I always think of stuff, while I'm recording. You can tell when I've had a nice idea because I will immediately jump on it. I won't hang around. I'll just go and do it. I don't think too much. I've got my thinking is always split between what am I trying to achieve, What's going on at the moment? Have you said anything sensible in the last 30 seconds? What are you going to do next? How long have you got left to record for today? And there's numerous different things. There's a lot of mental multitasking going on, and that leads to me getting it wrong frequently, and therefore rebuilding it pretty much exactly as it was before. Ho-hum, such is life. Wilkie Barkid asks, what's my gaming setup? I've answered this one already before. It's the same one I record on, fundamentally. Go to the About page. In there you'll find my kit, which lists everything that I currently use, from mouse to mouse mat to keyboard to Captain Kirk drinks coaster. It's all in there, and no, I'm not even joking. There you go. Wiley then follows on. Do I like consoles too? Not Wiley's, Wilkie. Beg pardon. Do I like consoles too, or is it just PC? Yes, I do. There are some games that are better on console. I know, it's sacrilege to say so. Those games are sports games. I love sports games. Madden, FIFA, NHL, NBA, all of it. I'll play any of that stuff. Absolutely love it. Sports games are my jam. Very much so. Am I any better at those than I am at anything else? No, not really, but I have a lot of fun with them. Or is it just PC? Which consoles do I go for? All of them, apart from Nintendo. Nintendo stuff, never got into it. Never did. Never had one as a kid, so I don't get it. I don't understand why people are interested in Mario games. Did I mention I hate platformers? That might be something to do with it. No. Anyway, sports games are the first one that are better on console. Driving games are the second one that are better on console. Just because you're guaranteed to have smooth flow throughout. PCs can throw any kind of curveball at you at any moment's notice, and if you're trying to take a hairpin corner at that time, disaster can occur. So that's why I prefer my driving games on console. The third is fighting games, of which I like those too. Currently playing Tekken 7. Am I any better than... No, I'm not. No, I like it. I have a bit of a knockabout, smash things about a bit. Got my eye on Injustice 2 as well. Superheroes, knocking about a bit, smashing things. Terrific. There you go. That's all good. He's got one more. Wilkie's not done yet. What's my favourite cornetto flavour? I'm a mint kind of a guy. So am I. Mint all the way. Cornetto, a fine comestible, if ever there was one. No, mint is the way to roll on that front. Nothing wrong with strawberry, but mint. Devin Tichy, again, leaning into the how did I get the Colonel Failure name? Playing cards. There you go. That's the answer. If you want a longer answer, see the previous answer. Or possibly the answer more before that. Red Racer B18. What's my favourite part of this game? Ooh. When it works is my favourite part of this game. Passengers, yeah, they're fine. You can make that work quite easily. But there's nothing better than having a whole bunch of tracks going into a station. This goods hub this is how I like to play, is making something that is overcomplicated for the sake of it, that then gets very busy, and it works. That's the stuff that I really get my teeth into. Hooking it up with ships and planes and the rest of it is just that's bonus fun right there. It's terrific. Marco TD asks, what am I doing when I'm not playing with trains on my computer? Well, if I'm not playing anything, all right, let's not just trains this. I play a lot, right? I never set out to be trains guy. I just kind of ended up there. I like trains just fine. I'm sure I've said this before. I like trains just fine, but I never set out to be Mr. Trains. If I were, I'd perhaps be a little bit more sensible about it, a bit more serious-minded. But instead, no. There we are. I play all sorts of stuff. And the challenge I've got channel-wise is trying to find the right mix of stuff that I like. That is the stuff that other people will like as well. And there's always going to be a mix between people who like a particular game and people who like the way that I cover a particular game, or all games. And the more I can convert you fine people into liking me watch all games, then there can be some additional variety into the mix. But, let's not worry about that. But what do I do when I'm not playing? Working. Travelling to and from work. larking about with my kids, hanging about with my other half, but hanging about with the other half more often than not involves playing games. So, that's all by the by. Anything else? No, I don't have time. I've got no time for anything else. Time is the watchword, friends. Use it while you've got it, or you'll miss it, and you won't be able to use it because you lost it. That's my philosophy right there. Jason Weekly with a game related question. How do highways play into transport fever? If you never upgraded roads between cities, would it make passengers ride trains more? Probably. There is a calculation in the back end where the passengers choose the method of travel that is appropriate to them. Some choose speed over cost, some choose cost over speed, and highways come into that. Now, I upgrade my highways not out of anything other than it makes them look better. Leaving those dirt tracks in place in the late 20th century makes it look a little bit, a bit odd. But your curiosity is fine to see if you can force more passengers into non-car alternatives. I'm willing to bet you probably could, but I tried this in the North Atlantic series with those trams that were running down in the Mediterranean, and they never really percolated. They never got pickup. Should have used trains. Charles Humble asks, am I going to use the A4? Probably not. I've used it in other series. I don't need to use it every time. And that's the other thing that happens between series is I try and avoid doing the same thing every single time. Daniel Caves, could be Cavez, but I'm going to go with Caves. Do I watch W1A on the BBC? I've got the same witty tone, apparently, with a hint of failure. Yes, I have watched it in the past, but that tone is that's just me. As mentioned, I don't mimic so much as I assimilate. So, I'm like a lexicographical Borg, in that everything I ever watch and see and so forth, it all gets put into the melting pot, and then I open my mouth and it comes back out again. So, do I watch it? I have watched it on occasion. I watched it when I was doing the Olympics, but I don't watch it currently. G-Meister asks, I'm a fan of Lionel Trains. Are you? Also, are you ex-military? Covered ex-military earlier. I'm not. Who or what is Lionel Trains? Lionel Richie? Lionel Blair, I'm familiar with. Lionel Trains, no, it's lost on me. So I would have to say, no, I'm not a fan of Lionel Trains. I don't know who or what it is. Jason Weekly's back again. Would you consider playing Railroad Tycoon 3 for nostalgia's sake? No, I've covered that as well. I've done a good job at pre-covering questions here. No. Daniel Caves, back again. But why can't you people put up... I'm going to institute, next time we do this, there's going to be a one question per person rule. So make your questions count, people, and I recommend reading the other questions that have already existed. Anyway, Daniel, what other games have you played that you haven't done as a YouTube series? Thousands of games, Daniel. I have played thousands of games that I haven't done as a YouTube series. For example, the Stanley Parable. The Stanley Parable is, I think it's my favourite game ever made, and I haven't finished it. I played an hour and a half of the Stanley Parable, and I was blown away by it. If you haven't played it, this is one of my only recommendations. If you think about games, if you've played a lot of games, and you've got £6-7 burning a hole in your back pocket, go play it. Don't read anything about it already, because you'll have spoiled it for yourself. It's very straightforward to play. If your computer can run Half-Life, you can run the Half-Life 2. It can run the Stanley Parable. Go play it. It's a good, thought-provoking experience. It made me laugh on numerous occasions. The first curveball, for those of you who know it, the first curve it throws at you, I pushed back from the desk. I sat there for 15 minutes just kind of going, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. That is a genuinely brilliant experience. That's something that I just had not seen coming. I thought it was clever, but this is very clever. Now, maybe I'm overplaying it a little bit, but I absolutely loved it. Didn't finish it, didn't feel the need to. Didn't get bored, just didn't feel the need to finish it. What a great experience. Would I record it? No. Because no, it would feel forced. It would feel fake if you were to watch me playing it again, because I couldn't fake that first experience. Am I going to cover other games on the channel? You betcha. Stellaris. Start watching it, right? It's funny. I know you don't like space games. You like trains. Watch it. It's funny. There is a lot of pith in there. If you like a bit of Star Trek, Star Wars, Battlestar Galactica, every sci-fi series you can think of will be getting a sly reference or 6 in there. It's going to be sticking around for a while. You might as well embrace it. Go watch the thing. All right? It'll pick up. It'll be funny, I promise you. There will be challenges that we share together. And I'm going to play quite a bit of it. So, you grab the bull by the horns, go watch that thing. Airport CEO, however, don't get too attached to that. That's leaving after 10 episodes. Motorsport Manager's coming back because that was weirdly popular. I just got to get around to recording it. What else? Stegs will be back. We're going to still do some Battlegrounds, I think, but we're trying to find something longer form that we can play. But we haven't found it yet. There we go. Yes. Jason Weekly's back again. Seriously, the one question rule, it's a thing. Get used to it. Get over it. It's coming. What kind of computer are you playing on? Again, go to my About page. It's all in there. You're shopping for a new desktop PC. I want to dedicate to games only. Did I buy it off the shelf? Buy a custom computer from an online retailer? Built it myself. The best thing to do if you're building yourself, in my opinion, don't fight me because I don't care that much. Right? Okay, so is I'll buy a motherboard bundle. If you search for motherboard bundle on Amazon or the computer retailer of your choice, you will find various ones out there. Find the processor that suits you best. Get as much memory as you need. 16 is probably recommendable these days. 8 is totally fine. 32 is complete overkill. You will not need 32 gig of RAM. Then, bang a graphics card in, get a decent tower, slap it all together. There are so many guides on YouTube as to how to put a computer together. It's easy to do. The other thing on that, though, is you won't save money. You can, if you scrimp and, you go a bit AMD rather than Intel, or you use a Radeon rather than NVIDIA card. That's entirely up to you. It's personal choice. I go with the most mainstream setup possible because it's the most likely to work without any extra faffing about. But I'm not fussed about 60 frames a second. Yes, stuff looks better at 60 frames a second. Do I care if it isn't? Not as long as I'm having fun. So yeah, you can. It's entirely up to you how you sling one together. Right, and where are we? How many have I got left? I've got a couple left here. RSA Left asks, hey Colonel, have you ever thought about doing a Let's Play of other simulator games, such as Farming Simulator or any of the SCS truck games? If you go and look through my playlists, you will find 22 fine episodes of American Truck Simulator. I recorded this, a year and a half ago, I think, when it first came out, and it's pretty funny, because I'm pretty terrible. I recommend going and watching that, because nobody watched it at the time, which is why I didn't stick around for very long. Also, I started getting competent, which is when I stopped playing, because I felt like I'd run out of things to talk about. I'm not going to talk about, whoa, this straight line I'm currently driving down. Whoa, pretty exciting. Look at that, it's a tree. So yeah, go watch it. It's fun. Will I be going back to it? Maybe. Don't know. Farming Simulator, however, yes, I want to. I've been trying to talk Stegs into doing Farm Sim with me. But he just goes, no, not doing it. No, I'm not going to do it. No, not doing it. No, don't want to do it. Don't want to do it. Not going to do it. I don't want to do it. Doesn't sound like fun. I said, it'll be fun. You'll crash tractors. I'll tell you what to do. I'll have you doing all the crap bits. It'll be great. It'll be funny. Trust me. You'll enjoy it. And he's just sat there going, nope, not playing. Nope, don't want to play it. Nope, not interested. Nope, doesn't work. Nope. So there you go. So will I be playing Farm Simulator? Maybe, but don't think for a moment I'm going to play it properly. I will be trying to make cash. I will be trying to grow stuff. But if you're a fan of fields that are ploughed in a straight line, again, don't get your hopes up. And there are 9 parts in a series from the 2015 game elsewhere on the channel. It's also funny, which, you know, that's what I'm here for. I'm after, you know, a vague amount of haphazard, laconic, vaguely witty, somewhat funny, gentle humoured, nicely spoken, will put you to sleep if you let it, gameplay channel. Doesn't quite fit snappily in the banner, otherwise I'd stick that in there. There you go. Right, final question. Nicky Bine. It's a guess on my part, pronunciation-wise. How much time does it take to make a video? Well, if you look at the length of a normal episode of Transport Fever, let's take Transport Fever, you will notice when I do an edit outside of the intro and the outro, right? You'll notice where there's an edit because it will do a very quick dip to black and back in again. If you don't see a dip to black and back in again, then that was real time, okay? It happens occasionally, usually if the doorbell goes or if I start coughing or, you know, or any number of out-of-game reasons occur. But how much time does it take? Usually I'll take about 15 minutes to get everything set up, and that's, you know, getting recording stuff done, checking my microphone volumes. I change my microphone volume all the time because for some reason it's never exactly how I want it. And it's because this thing here, it moves around. So it's never exactly the right distance. Actually, today I think I've got it at an absolute belter of a distance. And, you know, it's typical that I'm just talking to a webcam. But hey-ho, such is the world. Yeah, so probably 15 to 20 minutes to set it up. Then however long it takes to record. Some episodes I edit down. Motorsport is a good example of this. Motorsport, it will take about 1 hour and 20 minutes to record an episode. By the time it's edited down, it's about 50 minutes. Editing is where the time is invested more often than not. Transport Fever is actually usually a quick edit. So another 20, 30 minutes to get the edit done. Then it's rendering time. And that's based on the amount of graphical nonsense I've got thrown in there. And then you upload it, and that's I'll usually upload overnight. It doesn't take very long, but I'll usually queue up like 4 or 5 things to upload overnight, and then I throw the thumbnails together, write the descriptions, set them up to go live, all of that kind of bit. So all in, you're probably looking between 1.5 hours to 2 hours for every hour of footage that you see on the screen. Actually, that's a lie. It's way more than that. Yeah, a bit. There you go. That's my comprehensive answer for you there. Anyway, that's I've been recording for 2 hours. Whoa. I have edited it out quite a bit because I was chuntering away, trying to keep this punchy. But punchy is way behind us now. So there you go. I've been Colonel Failure. Thank you for watching, and thank you for subscribing, and thank you for submitting your questions. There will be a 1 question per person rule next time. I might even put a hard cap on it. It will be my favourite 20 questions instead of just not putting any rules, and then as a result I have to answer absolutely flipping everything. I'm looking at you people who asked 17 questions. Anyway, no, it's a great deal of fun. What should you do now? Well, hit the like button. Do that. Come on, if you haven't done it yet. I'll tell you why it's important, right? It counts as a piece of engagement. And engagement is one of the things that tells YouTube whether a video is good or not, right? And if YouTube thinks the video is good, it will recommend it to more people. Now, I feel I don't want to go, please leave a like on this video. but you need to. If you don't mention it, the number of likes you get drops dramatically. It's a little like, you know, it's just a thing that you can kind of do. If you want to grow your channel, there are some things you have to ask for, otherwise it just doesn't happen. You notice I don't put it at the front of the video. People who do that are just not worth your time. You know, I just go, hello, I'm Colonel Failure. Press the like button now. Press it now. Press it now. Press it now. Before going like, and today I'm going to be playing right? No, we don't do that. We stick it at the end after I have suitably entertained you, and hopefully people are still stuck around. So sling a like if you enjoyed it, right? Don't just kind of go, yeah, I will do. I'll do it later. I know, all 50 of these that I've liked, I'll do them all at the same time. It's fine. So there you go. That's why likes are important, and it's for the same reason. It's why I ask people to subscribe if you haven't done so already. All right? If you've watched this, this is a subscriber video for subscribers. If you're not a subscriber, why are you watching? I'm not joking. Subscribe now. Now. Yeah, there we go. See, it's a minor thing, but it helps the numbers go up. And again, it tells YouTube, oh, this channel might be worth watching because he's got a few subscribers, and therefore, the more subscribers you get, the more it goes, oh, it might be worth watching. And it's a reciprocal cycle thing that just spins upwards and outwards and all of this kind of business. Right, there you go. I got nothing else to say. Yeah, I'm done. I hope the train stuff was entertaining. I haven't recorded it yet. I pointed the wrong way. It's over this shoulder. It's over there. Look, it's right there. So trains. Choo-choo, all of that business. Good. Right, I'll be back with your regularly scheduled Transport Fever. We're currently running 2 a week, but I am making them 45 to 50 minutes long each. So you get a goodly amount. You get a feature film's worth of Transport Fever out of me each week. Can't complain about that. It's without Hollywood budgets. So it's just me and the various pith that I can deliver to the screen at any one time. Anyway, thank you for watching. I'll catch up with you very soon. Cheerio.